Finding the Smith family was the most important development that we had to date in FOP. And we knew at that moment that FOP was a genetic condition because it was passed from the father to all three of his children.
If we were starting with the question of what is the genetic cause of FOP today, we'd probably have the answer in about 2 weeks, because the technologies have advanced so greatly. DNA sequencing, the ability to rapidly analyze vast amounts of data, are there now. But in the early 90s, those technologies were still being dreamed of. What we were able to use was, at the time, a fairly new approach at understanding genomic DNA, so the DNA that's in all of our chromosomes in our cells. It's called linkage analysis.
Linkage analysis looks at whether markers that you are studying in different individuals in a family are inherited from one individual to another individual in association with the disease. So let's take a family, for example, where you have a mum who has FOP, who has 2 children, one of whom has FOP and the other one who doesn't have FOP. So we study 400 or so markers, and we look to identify markers which go from the mother to the affected child, but do not go from the mother to the unaffected child. And so that would mean that the gene that's actually causing the FOP must be near the marker that went to the affected child, and the unaffected child doesn't have the gene and doesn't have that marker.
The more families that we could identify that had FOP, the closer we could come to identifying a specific region of the chromosomal DNA that carried the gene that was causing FOP.
It's sort of like narrowing down from the entire universe to the galaxies, to the solar system, to the planet, to the country, to the state, to the city, to the street, to the house, to the floor, to the room, to the piece of furniture in the room. And in that piece of furniture, we hope to find the clue that caused FOP, the FOP gene, the treasure we were looking for.
I remember one particular turning point, and I was at a meeting, don't remember what meeting it was. I remember in minute detail the lobby that Dr. Kaplan and I were standing in. And I said to him, what do we really need? What do we really, really, really need? What do you need to make a big jump in FOP research?
Amanda came to me and said, what more do you need?
He said we needed multi-generational families.
The question is, where is the gene that's the mastermind of this whole process? And the way to really find that out, of course, is to have enough families with FOP to be able to trace the genetic linkage through these families.
After we found the Smith family, we embarked upon a journey to find as many families as we could who had FOP. We didn't wish that there were families that had FOP, but we said if they exist, we want to know who they are.
I literally thought, well, that's easy. We'll just go find them. And with the birth of the internet and search engines and things like that, it just felt doable.